How are you?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm just coming out of a session, so I'm coming back into my mind and body. So apologies if I had come off to any degree of spacey. But wonderful to see you and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah. So for those who are tuning in, Zelda is a new Awakenpedia partner, and our focuses are wide, but tend to be on EFT and plant medicine as
Yep.
your priority modalities. And that's going to be the emphasis of her services and offerings to the Awakenpedia community. So, Zelda, it's a true pleasure to welcome you into the family and to be able to introduce you here more formally, and to give everybody a bit of insight into who you are, what you do, why you do it, and what you'll be providing to the Awakenpedia community. So, welcome again.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to join the community. I think it's like really wonderful what you guys are doing. All the information that you're putting together and sharing and creating this community, which I think is really kind of needed and very supportive. So thank you to you too.
Mm, mm. Thank you. I appreciate that. And seeing that. It certainly is a time in the world that appears to present great challenge, but also great opportunity in terms of how predominant the ego is today within the energetic fabric of the world. But we're seeing at the same time this underlying shift in consciousness that's lifting us out of the egoic mind and bringing us back into our hearts, bringing us back into alignment with our most essential higher selves. So, it,
Yep.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah, and I think there's right now with this awareness or people opening up themselves to a different way of living, a different form of consciousness, there also needs to be some kind of support and guidance while we all kind of figure this out together, really.
mm,
You know, it's a step-by-step journey. So a bit about me is that I began my journey in Peru, actually. So I was in the corporate world, living a corporate life, and everything was going well, I thought, but always had a few questions and just couldn't see myself continuing that cycle. Once I kind of made it into the corporate routine, I just couldn't see myself working my way through annual leave and planning vacations and holidays, and I didn't know really where that was going. And then I found myself in Peru at an ayahuasca retreat and working with plant medicine, and that pretty much changed my life from there. So that was a very profound experience where essentially I saw that there is more, more in the sense to myself, there is more to this world, and there's a more to the way in which I could be living, you know, more fully, more wholly, more connected to myself, more connected to nature. And it just opened up my perspective a lot.
mm, yeah.
Yeah.
So that
So,
I'd love to hear more about that, Zelda. Just and that was what I was going to lead into. So it's great that you went down that road, because I'd love to know and to have you share with the community a bit more about your story, um, diving into how you kind of started to stumble and then perhaps walk and then trot on this awakening journey, and so that awakening process, just to hear a bit more about that from your side, and how it led you into plant medicine and EFT.
okay. Well, I kind of felt when I look back at it now, I mean, it wasn't very clear while I was starting, but I kind of see how I was led there or led myself there and I was supported. And that's where it kind of brings me to today, why I'm offering what I'm offering in terms of supporting others, because it was my partner actually that found a documentary about DMT, and he was really inspired immediately and said, I want to try this. And I just felt at that time saying, yes, okay. You know, I didn't really have too many questions, I didn't have too many worries, but I just felt open to it. And I said, okay. And we actually met a friend who had recently come from Peru all around the same timing and who had tried ayahuasca in Peru and said that, you know, he would like to go back there. And we both witnessed in front of us this friend that we knew, and he was different. Um, he was different in the sense that he was a vegetarian, he was not drinking alcohol, and he actually looked happy. You know, I could see it in his body. He looked healthier, he looked calmer. And you know that really opened me up to see, okay, what's going on here? You know, what happened? What did he see? What caused him to change? And changing to somebody that I could see was really in a better space than he was before. Loving life, you know.
Yeah.
I was feeling really good around him. My partner was feeling really good around him. You know, something was shifted, and I felt very comfortable to go to Peru with him and my partner. I felt like, okay, yeah, I can do this. You know, I'm now, like I said, looking back, I'm like, I was almost held. I had my partner with me and my friend going to the jungle where he had already been. It's like it was already kind of, the path was already shown for me. And I just, I guess, accepted what was coming to me. So when I had my own experience with plant medicine, um, there was a kind of detoxification process before I met with plant medicine, you know, changing in my diet, introducing myself to meditation, to yoga, to different ways of life. And I could feel things starting to change within me. I was calmer, I was more open, and there was a lot that I didn't know, you know. It was more understanding that I don't know everything that's going on here, especially like just connecting with myself and my body. As I was dieting for ayahuasca, I was noticing how my body was changing and responding and reacting to, you know, different diet and different types of food which I had never even explored before. So that was a, you know, introduction to how food can affect you mentally, emotionally, physically.
Sure.
And I mean, I think everybody's experience with plant medicine is really unique and really different. But from my side, I could say it expanded me. But what was really profound was that I felt really safe and supported in the group of people that I was with. So the facilitators at the center, I really felt love from them. You know, I felt that they were quite grounded and they were really listening. They were really just present. And that alone was so nourishing. You know, it was just so healing to just be around this group of people. And we became like a family. Everything felt accepted, you know, just to be how I was, all sides of me. Everything felt really safe and nurtured and accepted. And I think that's what allowed me to go deeper within the medicine, having my own experience because of that kind of intimacy and really safe held space. So that brings me into what I offer today is like with EFT as well, we are creating that safe space between myself and whoever I'm working with, but also with the physical tapping on the meridian points, you're creating that safe space within your own body. So after kind of experiencing that in Peru, I left my job in London and went traveling in India to explore more and to also process, I guess, everything that I had experienced, you know?
Yeah.
So taking like 6 months, you know, outside of my environment, you know, London, where I'm from, my work environment, my home environment, my family environment, and putting myself in India in a really different environment culturally and kind of exploring, you know, what is Vedic culture, what is meditation, what is yoga, taking some courses, taking classes, and trying to process, let's say, the spiritual side of what I experienced, as well as the physical side, because it's a completely different way of life, it's a different, you know, diet in India, and that led me and my partner to go back to Peru and volunteer because at that time it was like, okay, what else can we do now apart from giving back to the place that I felt I had received so much from. So being in Peru as a volunteer and later a facilitator, running the retreats and witnessing so many people coming and seeing them in front of my eyes changing,
Mm.
through the medicine, but also through that safe space. Like after every ceremony, we would hold an integration circle. And this is just a held space where everybody could express freely exactly what they went through, what they're feeling, what they're thinking, completely unfiltered. And everybody was just there to hear it.
Yeah.
And I realized then, when you say what you experience and feeling and you say it out loud, it's like you're taking it outside of your body and you're hearing yourself. So you start to create that space. You start to allow yourself to be that observer to what you're going on, and everybody witnessing it and still accepting you is healing in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. And that, your answer and story is exactly why I love to start these lives and these conversations, going down that road, because it gives such an incredible context as to, who you are right now, moment, your level of consciousness that, you're emanating, through which we're having this conversation. And it's not that the past matters in the sense of our personal on an absolute basis, but for this context and for the purposes of people to get to know you, it's helpful, right, to hear your story and to share. And you speak to it so eloquently, and you point to so many things that are pointing to the truth. That safe space of presence is so important and the key to transformation. The present moment is the portal through which we can realize our most essential nature in the transcendent realm. And presence is the key. It's presence, love, there's many names, but it is the way in which we can see clearly, see truly. And so thank you for sharing that. And I thoroughly I'm in alignment with you in terms of the process through which um, we can do healing, and healing can occur. So with that, we look at just EFT for a second, focus there. How did you specifically come into EFT? And would you mind describing a bit about just, the nature of your services, the
Yeah.
practice you offer, and, what you're really doing for your clients?
Yeah. So EFT is personally been a really helpful tool for myself in my journey. So, when you work with plant medicines, it doesn't mean that overnight everything is fine. It can bring to your awareness what's going on. And that's one of I think the key elements that happens when you're in a safe space is the awareness of yourself. And when you're aware, you can accept yourself where you are. And this is what I see as truth. Truth is exactly what's going on in the moment. So that's also your dark side, your bad side, your challenging side, whatever you want to call it, is what you are now. So what I noticed was, okay, I'm a very emotional being. I feel a lot of things. I feel a lot of emotions in my body. I feel them as thoughts. I feel them physically. And this is happening a lot. And I could see when I looked back that, okay, this is really affecting my behavior. It's affecting my choices. It's affecting my relationship with others. It's affecting my relationship with myself. So I found it really challenging to look at kind of other disciplines that were saying, be positive, don't have negative thoughts, keep your vibration high. And I thought, yeah, that's true. I want to be there, but I do have these thoughts. I do feel like this sometimes. I do feel angry. I do feel sad. I do feel overwhelmed. And how do I just observe them and ignore them when this is me? And I came across EFT actually in a documentary, and I saw the practitioner tapping on the other woman. So we tap with meridian points, I'll explain. And the lady was saying exactly how she felt, like unfiltered, really truthful, just saying what she felt, saying what she was thinking. And when I saw that, I felt peace, and I saw that the lady after felt relaxed. It was like her whole body just went, ah, just by letting it out. And again, by saying it out loud to the practitioner who was also repeating her words, they were creating this kind of safe space, this kind of mirroring, because the practitioner was not reacting to anything, the lady was saying, just holding the space, accepting it. And then once the lady was able to accept what she's really feeling, then it was like, okay, now let's look at the next step. Now let's see, do you want to continue with these thoughts and feelings, or do you choose something else for yourself? And that felt really empowering. It felt really practical as well. Like, okay, this is something I can actually work with. And then I started looking up, okay, what is EFT? Where can I find it? I want to try this myself. And again, I felt like now when I look back, I was kind of guided there. I was traveling in Israel, and I just had this feeling in Israel, like, wow, Israel's really open, much more of an open-minded country than I thought. And I searched for EFT, and I found a practitioner who was also from London but living in Israel. And I booked a session, and I was really excited. And I couldn't go because that day there was a fire and I wasn't able to travel. And I called up the practitioner. I said, I'm really sorry, and I know that you have this cancellation policy. I'll pay for your cancellation. And the first thing she said to me was like, it's okay. These things happen. Don't worry about it. And I just felt really accepted and calmness from her. Like, oh, okay. I had called with a bit of my anxiety, like, oh, I have to cancel, and I've confirmed and booked it in, and I feel really bad, and all of these thoughts. And all I got back was, okay, it's okay. These things happen. And I just thought, okay, sounds like she's actually like living and practicing what she's preaching. And I felt really instantly accepted and calm. And then we talked a little bit about my experience in Peru, and she said to me, I'm starting this training in a couple of days. Most of the participants are psychologists and therapists, but with your experience, I think that, you could get it. And I thought, like, no, I've never done even an EFT session. I can't join your training. But she said, we do a lot of practice. So if you want to get to know how EFT works, you could understand it through this session. Think about it. So I did, and I just thought, wow, this is an opportunity. There's one spot, I'm available. They all speak English, and it's in a couple of days. Let's do it. So I went to level 1, and it was really, again, another profound experience, because she was teaching us these techniques, we were practicing, and once again I was seeing it in front of my eyes. I was seeing the changes within myself, within everybody in my group, and I thought, okay, this really works. So what is it that is working? If you're wondering, everybody, if you haven't heard about EFT, well, it stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. So it's working kind of on the traditional Chinese meridian system. So you probably all heard about acupuncture, but acupuncture uses needles to, stimulate the meridian points. And when they use needles to stimulate these points, they're releasing the energy that are held within these points that basically bring the body back to balance. So you can imagine you've got all these meridian points around your body, and the energy is flowing around this meridian system. So some people call this energy chi, they call it prana, they call it life force energy, vital energy, whatever you want to call it. You could say this energy is the thing that keeps you alive, and when it's in balance, when it's flowing well, you're in balance. So what does it mean when you're in balance? It means you're emotionally regulated, your physical body is in balance, you're healthy, your mental, cognitive abilities in balance, so your thoughts are in balance, and you're generally in a place of well-being. When this is not in balance, then the body can be in dis-ease, right? So we commonly know this as disease. So when the body is not in balance, you could have, unwanted thoughts that lead to unwanted behavior, such as addiction, for example. You could start to have like physical pains and aches in your body. Maybe you've experienced this where you go to a doctor and you say, I'm experiencing this in my body, and the doctor says, I can't see anything, so everything's fine, it's probably stress. So what is that thing that we can't see? It's generally this flow of energy not flowing. It's blocked somewhere, which is causing the problem. But when we tap on the meridian points, so instead of using needles, we stimulate with our mechanical pressure. And just by tapping in this cycle, you're bringing your body back into balance. It's like plumbing for your body. You know, if you imagine you open your tap and the water isn't flowing, so you look under the plumbing system and you say, okay, there's a blockage here, you know, let's fix this, let's change a part because you want the water to flow. Then you open your tap and the water flows. So it's similar to how your body works, how your energy flows through your body.
Got it.
Yeah, but also what's super interesting is when you're tapping, you are kind of putting your, you know, frontal lobe in a hypnosis state. So you're fully conscious, you're aware, but this analytical part of your brain that is constantly analyzing, trying to make meaning, trying to be logical, this starts to quiet down. When this starts to quiet down, your amygdala, you know, your subconscious starts to activate. And there's been some scientific studies showing that when people are tapping, the different regions of the brain start to activate. So when we activate the amygdala, that's where we can start to tap into these, you know, memories that we've forgotten about, or tap into the body, you know, what's really going on, tap into the limiting beliefs, you know, all the things that we're not consciously aware of day to day. And that's where the real clearing happens, because with EFT, we're trying to get to the root of your issue. You know, what's the starting point? What's the core root of your problem? And when we can see that, you know, the first stage is that awareness, then we accept it, right? So, okay, we're still okay, we're still loved, we're still alive, even with all this going on, everything's still okay. Now what can we do, right? So when you see it, you also feel it. So often, you know, you might be talking and tapping, you know, and you start to feel something in your body, right? And you're tuning in more now because this analytical part of your brain is quiet. It's not trying to say, oh, yeah, it's probably because I slept awkwardly. You know, this part of your brain that is used to this trying to make meaning is quiet now. So you just start to feel that. Say you start to feel some tension. Then we start to describe what's physically going on, not using words like pain, but really, what are you feeling? You know, is it tightness? Does it have a color? And then you start to notice, you start to maybe remember something, start thinking about an event, a situation, and that's where we start to access then the traumas, the limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And why can you access them now? It's because also through this tapping, you're bringing down your cortisol levels. So your fear response, your fight or flight response is down. Your body is safe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Your body's like, okay, we're safe here. We're in the present moment. We are not in the past where these limiting beliefs entered or where these traumas happened. You know, we're safe. So when you're safe, you start to look at it, and then you can look at the truth, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe the things that have been a little bit difficult to look at. So my job as the practitioner, EFT, is I'm the one that's just guiding you to what you already know. You have the answers. I'm not there to diagnose or to tell you what's going on. You're telling me. And through looking at me and telling me, you're telling yourself what's going on.
Right.
So I'm just there to ask you questions. You know, how does that feel? What's going in your body? What are you thinking about? How true is that? Do you believe that? You know, who are you? Who do you remember? What can you see? What can you feel?
Yep.
And you're just able to, you can imagine that you're just able to reach a little bit deeper because of the support of the tapping. And just by saying it and tapping, you're already clearing it because your body is already trying to rebalance itself. And as it's rebalancing and you're saying these words like, you know, I'm angry, I'm really angry, I'm really angry. Later, as you tap, you start to notice sometimes like, actually, it's not angry, it's like, I'm sad, I'm disappointed. So even the emotions you think you're feeling might not be the true emotions. And that's where we get in these cycles and loops where we're like, you know, I want to do this in my life. I really believe it, but I can't. It's just not
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I love the way, Zelda, that you summed up the EFT so beautifully. And I really appreciated how you brought, you know, a neuroscience view to support the intuitive aspects of this practice as well. And I think, you know, in many respects, that's necessary because it's uniting the rational mind with the intuitive mind, just as it's uniting our humaneness with our beingness and bringing us together so that we can make these practices practical and actually have them make a meaningful impact on our daily lives. So that the way you describe that, it makes a lot of sense, and both rationally and intuitively as a way to facilitate healing and access the conscious through the meridian channels
Yeah.
as a way, this tapping modality. So beautifully said. Yeah. Um, just to continue here for a few minutes, Zoda, can you talk a bit about your specific offerings in terms of what you know, the range of services you provide today,
Yeah.
um, and you know, how that will translate into what you offer to the Awakenpedia community as well.
Okay. So I specifically focus these days one-on-one with women because I feel like this is where my experience and my path has led to, but men and women in groups. So there's two ways tapping can work, is private one-on-one sessions. And feel like tapping is really experiential. You know, I can talk about it, I can give you all the science, but you really have to experience it. So um, because of this and joining the community, I'm happy to offer everybody for this first month, 50% off all one-on-one sessions to try it out for yourself
Yeah.
and see how you feel. And I would just recommend everybody maybe to just try, this is a calming point. So just maybe in the next few days, if you feel any emotions come up, just stop for a second, feel it, and just tap here, and then just see for yourself how you feel. And I'll be also starting some group sessions, and I think we're going to be doing 25% discount for the rest of the year with the group sessions. So this is something where we can meet weekly, which is really, really great for things like addictions,
Mm.
phobias, and weight loss.
Yeah.
So group sessions will be focused in these areas because when you work as a group, there's something that you experience that we call borrowing benefits. So it's like the whole group are tuning in to the same issue. And while we tune in together, it's like we really amplify the focus and energy. And even if we'll be working with one person in the group, while the whole group are tapping, everybody's also receiving that clearing too. So things that can be really challenging, such as addiction and weight loss also. You know, weight loss is generally there's a block to your weight loss. These are really amazing in group settings, and also limiting beliefs. And later down the line, you can use group settings for manifestation.
Mm.
So once you've started clearing, then you can start choosing, and you can start tapping in those choices. So what we'll be doing first in the one-on-one sessions in the group will be like tapping out those really strong connections that we've unconsciously made and don't want anymore. You can imagine that they're really like this in the brain, and as we tap, we make them loose. So then in the group manifestation sessions, you'll be making tighter the connections of what you choose. So what do you want for yourself? What do you want for your life? What do you want for the next year?
Got it.
So this is what I'd be love to offer the community, and I really encourage everybody to just try it out for themselves and see how they
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah. Amazing. And thank you so much. So guys, tuning in, just to summarize Zelda's beautiful and generous offering. She's offering 50% off one-on-ones with women, specifically for that offering, and 50% off for the first month. She's on the platform with us, which you can find in her profile on Awakenpedia in the member forum, and then also 25% off group offerings
Yep.
through the rest. So thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. That's very kind and appreciated. And you know, I think I can sense everyone who will work with you will experience the tapping, but more so just of presence. And as a facilitator, you know, holding that space, holding the frequency through others can help heal themselves, right? Through this body. So thank you again just for that that beautiful gesture and offering for the community.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I know we're at the half hour now, but anything else, Zelda, on your end that you'd like to share, with the group at this point? From my perspective, I think this was just a beautiful way to introduce you, who you are, to give you the opportunity to just share a bit more about your story, how you got here, what you're offering, why you're offering it, how it works, where they can find you, and the special promotion that you're offering as well to the community. So that's all I had on my side. But if there's anything else on your side, would love to just let you wrap things up. Otherwise, yeah.
I think I I think I just want to share with everybody that, feelings and emotions are so natural. And they're not just, they're felt in the body and they're often held in the body. So I feel that it's really important for us to understand and notice what we're feeling, because they are impacting your decisions, and they're also impacting your health, and really health is wealth, especially when it comes to your physical health. So most emotions that you're feeling today are not from today. They are the body going back to the past where these old emotions entered. And tapping is a really simple way that everybody can access to help themselves, clear this. So you don't have to stay in the suffering or the cycle of emotions. It really is possible, and it's really possible to shift out of old emotions fast with tapping. You might see some stories, but because of the way that we're working with the meridian in a different part of your brain, I'm really confident that you can often see effects really instantly.
Mm.
So,
Wow,
yeah.
that's powerful.
Even, and it's also as a self-help tool, as a session, you can really go deep and clear the roots. But even by learning the points yourself, it's a self-help tool. When you are in the midst of that heightened emotion, before you react, you can tap
Mm.
yourself so that you can respond. And then you can see what's going on. And then you can take sessions to say, okay, this has happened to me this week, so I want to come out of this cycle. But at least with tapping, you don't have to, what could you say? Not make it worse, but it doesn't have to go any further. If you notice it, tap, come back to yourself, and then continue.
Yeah, exactly. Giving you the space
Exactly.
to take
Space. Yeah.
a pause so that you don't impulsively react. Instead, you can intelligently respond to a situation. And,
Raise all those stress hormones in your body. Don't elevate your blood pressure and your heart rate. You can instantly calm your physiology down.
yeah,
So, yeah. And then you'll get really close to being more and more empowered over your emotions and yourself.
yeah, yeah. And I can see how, the more you do this, the more you use tapping as modality, um, the more effective it will become as well over time. Because, as you were saying, you're kind of like, it's facilitating that unwiring, unconditioning process through which we are liberating the trapped energy that's stored in our body. And in many cases, across many humans, I should say, probably most humans today, they're carrying so much trapped energy, decades and decades, generations, both individual and collective trauma. And that could take some time, right? And it likely will take time to heal, to let go of, to set free, to transmute into love. So I would imagine that the more you tap, the more you're going to release, and and therefore the more results that you'll see.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and you will see it reflected in your life.
yeah,
You will see how things start to shift in your life once you start to shift that within yourself. Because, for example, animals have a mechanism to release this kind of pent up energy. They shake. You can imagine like a bird. Imagine you grab the bird, right? It might feel a little bit of trauma from you picking it up, and when you release it, It starts to flap its wings before it flies away. It's shaking off that trauma. And we're just not used to doing that. We're just not used to realizing that we can also release that. So it's just a shift in our perspective to know that, hey, we can let this go. And there are, methods out there to that we can learn to do this.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. That's a great analogy too. And Eckhart Tolle talks about that as well in his. Oh yeah, there you go. Maddie beat me to it. Eckhart Tolle talks about it in context of the ducks. Oh, there she goes. She beat me to it again. Um, Flapping their wings when they get in a fight. Ducks, right?
Hmm.
They quickly just flap their wings to release that uh, experience that they just went through, so that they don't hold on to it, so that it can't get stuck in their body. So they immediately. So that's a great way to kind of describe this process as
Yeah,
well.
that's exactly what we're doing. We're releasing that energy that did get stuck,
Yeah,
from past, and a lot of it is from the past.
yeah,
Right? And that's impacting you today. We're just releasing the body from the past, we're relieving it and we're saying, hey, we're here now,
yes,
right? We're in today. Yes, and we're not denying anything. We're accepting, yes, these things happen. These things might have been hard. They were unwanted, but we're here today now. So now what do you want to do? So it's very, very empowering. It's all about choice after you see what's been conditioned, what you've learned, what you've picked up from others, maybe, you get to see that and say, okay, do I want to carry this forward anymore? No, I don't. What do I want to carry forward? And you get to choose it.
mm, yeah, wow, that's so empowering, right? Especially for those who have been stuck perhaps in that victim mode for so long and don't see or know a way to exit that low vibrating state of being. I really can see how powerful as a modality to be able to bring you out and into the now, to release you from the past, to bring you into the present, where in which and through which there's only peace. There's only wholeness, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Zelda. This was
Thank
beautiful.
you. Thank you very much.
An honor and privilege to have you with us. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing how this relationship grows over time and how we can help heal the world together. So,
Thank you very much, guys. Have a great rest of your day.
yes, you too. All right, thank you everyone who tuned in. Uh, you can find Zelda in our member form and her profile there to see all of her offerings and her special promotions to the community. So, all right, thank you. Talk
Take
soon,
care.
Zelda. Bye
Bye.
bye.